Hey guys, I've been visiting some family in Colorado and it snowed, but the snow is almost melted and I'm pretty excited about that because I got the new Evelo Quest Max. And it's neat that, it's packed up. They delivered it like this. It's a demo bike I'm gonna get to review and send back to them. Evelo is one of those companies that has a showroom in Seattle, but a lot of their products are sold online. And so I wanted to give you sort of the full experience. What would it be like getting this thing in the mail? So you can see they double boxed it. And that's nice because some of the components can punch through the box and then get a little bit damaged. This being a folding bike, it's almost fully assembled. There should be less that we have to do, and I really appreciate that. One of the first things I did when I unboxed this was open up and get out the charger and start charging this thing up so that we can jump right into the review. And I think what they sent me was kind of like a refurbished one, open box content checklist, so it really seems like they went all the way through. They tested the battery, the tires. That's pretty thorough. This is the charger. It's just a standard 2-amp charger, but it's really lightweight, compact. You can unplug the wall side if you want to kind of make it even smaller that way. I'd been charging it, just was able to reach the cable all the way over here under that little rubber flap. There's a USB charging port. There's all kinds of stuff that we're gonna go over once I get this thing out of the box, but I was just impressed. I mean, it's like zip tied in place. They got all this extra foam. I think the biggest hurdle for me is just gonna be unpacking this thing and then, of course, repacking it, sending it back to them. So let's get to it. Wow, it really is in nearly perfect condition. Took a while to get through all the foam and the packaging materials, but I think it was worth it. And I noticed that they sent an extra long seat post, which is great. So if you're someone who's really tall, good body geometry. There is a telescoping stem as well, so I've raised that. I think the one thing I'm gonna need to do before I ride is actually swivel that handlebar. You can see how the control pad is tipped forward and the little display for the NuVinci twist shifter there. And then this display was tucked down a little bit. So I think that was it was all about protecting the componentry. I gotta be honest with you guys, I'm pretty excited to look at this thing, to really go through with a fine-tooth comb. There we go, it's another protective piece that I forgot about earlier. There's just a lot here that's already jumping out to me and is really special. And I love the Arctic blue color here. It's nice glossy. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's just a little bit of dust right there. It's looking great.
Well, guys, you're in for a bit of an adventure. It's a little bit cold out. I ran out of light the other day, after the unboxing and everything. But, I just really want to get this, ridden and have some fun. And the roads aren't too slick, so I think it's going to go all right. Again, this is the Evelo Quest Max. The Max is referring to this Bafang Max drive. It's a 350 watt, super quiet mid-drive that measures pedal cadence as well as torque. It's very smooth. It's one of my favorite sort of like value mid-drive motors. There are others out there, Bosch and Broza and Yamaha, Shimano, but this Bafang motor is pretty great in my opinion. It's balancing price against functionality, and apparently it has 95 newton meters of torque, so very capable. And not just the motor, but also the brakes. These are 180 millimeter mechanical disc brakes with Tektro Aries calipers. The mechanical brakes, they don't offer as much adjustability on the levers, and you have to have a bigger lever so you can, get some leverage over it. The cables can stretch over time, but they're a little bit easier to adjust yourself once you've broken them in. The rear brake, the cable has to go a little bit further, so it tends to be a little bit harder when you pull. But again, 4-finger levers, these do have motor inhibitors. So, we talked about this motor being pretty powerful, but quiet and efficient. Anytime you pull those brakes, not only are you getting good mechanical stopping power, but you're also getting instant cutoff to that motor. So I really like that. It's just a great setup. And this is also the setup that they use on their Galaxy bikes. So they have a high step and a step through bike, more of a full-size, not folding electric bike that is apparently pretty popular. I reviewed those out in Seattle a while back. You can check that out. So why would you want a folding version of like the Galaxy? Well, folding bikes are much more portable, so if you have an RV or something, you can fold it in half and put it in there, maybe even the trunk of your car. Also, the standover height, much lower, so it's easier to step over like this, or if you have to hop off unexpectedly, you know, I'm not hitting my crotch on a folding bike like this. You do want to be careful because this joint right here, it does bulge out just a little bit, and I have hit my knee before, and that's no fun. But again, this is a really secure folding design. It is adjustable, so you can tighten it, and then there's this little locking like plastic piece. Make sure it doesn't come unfolded. The stem right here, it's also folding and telescoping. So here's the joint. It has another plastic locking piece. This is taller than the Evelo Max, what was it? The Quest One. Okay, this is the Quest Max with the mid-drive. The Quest One, it had a single speed, also belt drive, but it had a hub motor, and it actually looked a lot like this. This is the NuVinci N380 continuously variable transmission. We'll get into that later. But the point is, that bike, it's about 10 pounds lighter at 41 pounds. This is 50.9 pounds, so like almost 51 pounds. A part of that weight is because this has a range of gears, so to speak. Again, a continuously variable transmission. There aren't steps. There's just these balls inside that kind of provide a greater or lesser gear ratio. And that's really nice for climbing or for changing your pedal cadence at different speeds. So you're getting a motor here that's capable of moving full-size bikes, a bike that's approachable, easier to stand over, one that's portable, maybe not as comfortable because it doesn't have built-in suspension. I mean, it does have these puffy, like stitched grips, a nice oversized freeway gel saddle, and we've got these bigger, really nice tires. This is another upgrade compared to the Quest One. Okay, so Schwalbe, Big Apple, they have Performance Line Race Guard, which means there's some puncture protection, Light Skin, which means reflective sidewall stripes. And, you know, Schwalbe is just, they're known for producing higher quality stuff. These are 20 by 2.15, so they're a little bit fatter, and that air volume gives you some comfort when you're riding over cracks or bumps or whatever. Maybe even a little bit of trail if you do go off-road. A lot of times if you're touring around in an RV or something, maybe you don't know what you're gonna, kind of terrain you're gonna encounter. So having tires that are gonna hold up, give you some comfort and not get punctures is really nice. That's one of the upgrades. I mean, there are a lot of upgrades on this bike. Coming back to like the headlight, 2 Spaninga lights. So we have Spaninga Kendo up front. It's aimable, it's integrated, so it runs off that main battery pack. And then we have a Spaninga Duxo on the back. This one, it uses 2 AA batteries, and it's not integrated, so you have to turn it on and off independently every time. And that's, to me, that's annoying, because it's like, well, you got that battery. The battery is actually pretty sizable, 36 volts, 10.2 amp hours. It only weighs 4.1 pounds. It's integrated right in the middle of the frame, so the weight is really well distributed. It's kind of hidden. This bike isn't quite as stealthy as the Evelo Quest One, which again only had a little hub motor, 250 watt hub motor compared to 350 watt mid-drive. The mid-drive gets a mechanical advantage with that continuously variable transmission. Like the whole thing, this is actually probably gonna get similar range, like 20 to 40 miles, depending on your weight, the terrain, all these other factors. But the battery is, it's kind of average size, around that 350 watt hours for like a full size bike. And on a folding bike, you know, again, I don't know exactly how far you'd intend to ride or something. I could imagine maybe a couple, one of them getting this because it's easier to stand over, and then another partner having like a full-size bike if they want it for the comfort, for the suspension or some of this. I mentioned the tires and the saddle and everything, but this is also a steel fork. Steel tends to be really strong, but also have some vibration dampening properties, which is nice. But again, it's so short that it's like, I don't know if you're getting a ton of comfort. Really nice, thicker spokes here. So these are 13 gauge instead of 14 gauge. And we've got little torque arms here on these washers. See how they sort of poke in? I don't even know if that's really necessary for the front wheel. There's no motor or anything like that. But in the rear wheel, same thing. So this is like a horizontal dropout with some extra hardware that's designed to be sturdy, to keep, you know, again, there's no motor here, but there is a little bit of extra weight. So we do have a lot extra forces going on in this bike. It is a purpose-built electric bike, just getting that interface for the mid-drive. That's done custom. And I love the double leg kickstand here. It just really stabilizes the bike if you're loading up this rack, or if you're doing some kind of work, or maybe you're sliding this horizontal dropout back so that the belt drive can be tight. The belts are really clean, so if you're shivering like I am and you're on a cold day and you're wearing pants, you know, there's no chain cover, but there's also no grease. This isn't really gonna, you know, it's a huge belt ring, 70 teeth up here. It's gonna be probably not as common for you to get your pants snagged or anything on this. Belt drives are just quiet. They're really reliable too. Probably more reliable than a chain over the long term, but you need a special frame. A lot of times you need a cutout on the frame, or this one where the dropouts come from above and the chain or the belt can be like put on from below. Hopefully that makes sense. You can't cut a belt, right? So that the frame needs to be kind of custom. Again, this is a very custom frame. The wires, they aren't really internally routed, and you want to be careful not to pinch the wires, but they're mostly out of the way. There's this plastic channel on the bottom that hides them. This part's been kind of coming unclipped because I've been folding and unfolding it, doing a bunch of measurements, which will be back at the website. So just kind of keep an eye on that. It might just eventually fall off, and then I don't know if you have to have zip ties or something. Evelo has really good customer support. You can call them, talk to a real person. They have 2-year comprehensive warranty, which kind of covers everything, and then a 4-year kind of limited warranty. That's one of the leading, I don't know, benefits of getting a bike and paying a little bit more, because this is more. The Evelo Quest One was like $19.99. The Quest Max with the fancier motor and stuff, it's like $28.99. So $900 more. What do you get? Well, you get a nicer mid-drive motor, you get nicer tires, you get the continuously variable transmission that can be shifted at standstill, you get that taller stem, you get just, it's definitely upgraded in a lot of ways, and I'm going to list those out back at this site as well. But you know, just coming back to what are your needs, and I just love again, like the kickstand, the rack, the lights. You got this bungee strap built on. I didn't see a weight rating on this particular rack, but on the Evelo Quest One it did say 25 kilograms, which is about 55 pounds. 60 millimeter fenders with mud flaps, so they should keep you relatively clean and dry. You know, you've kind of got the works here, but again, you're paying a little bit more, so that's kind of what I would expect. The motor inhibitors, the integrated battery, like a lot of weight on this bike is really centrally located, even though that internally geared, like continuously variable transmission, it is heavier. It's heavier than traditional gears. So this bike is, you know, at that 50.9 pounds. Thinking about lifting this up, you can only really take out maybe the seat and the seat post, maybe that's a pound, and then 4.1 pounds for the battery. So maybe you're at 45 pounds. That's still a bit to lift because of the motor, and you know, it's not designed with like quick release on the wheels or anything. But I did want to call out one more thing. It's just so cool that they've got this magnetic clasp. So see, there's one point there and one point here, so you can fold the bike in half like this, and then it won't rattle loose as easily. It still might. You might want to get like another bungee cord, or maybe use these to kind of secure the frame if you're driving a long way, and so it doesn't rattle, because over time you can see how that nicks up the frame. And again, this is steel, so this might rust at some point, which isn't very fun. Got a couple different colors in this. I really like the Arctic blue, but you know, if you want something that's a little less bright, they have one that's kind of like a bronze gray. And then here we have the on-off button and a standard size USB type A port, and then the charging port. So you really don't have to take the battery out to use it for different things, whether you're charging it or maybe you're, I guess if you took the battery out, you could use it as a backup power source to charge your, you know, phone or different portable electronics like that. And there's another USB port right here, standard size, on this display panel. Come on, fingers are getting cold. USB type A, same thing. So you could mount your phone or something up here. It might be a little bit crowded, but at least you have the option. 2 USB ports. I mean, that's really nice. And it just feels like there's a lot you can do with this bike. And as we're going back, I realized one of the things that was annoying me a little bit is this kickstand's really stable, but it doesn't stow super easily. See how I'm pushing it forward. You almost have to like push it inwards too, and then it does hang down a little bit. So that's one of the areas where it works mostly well, but there is a little bit of, you know, screwing around. Right now I'm just pedaling without power, and there's a little bit more work. It feels like these drivetrains aren't quite as efficient as like a traditional cassette with a chain, but it is super quiet. Okay guys, we're back in the garage. It's a little bit warmer in here. Hope the echo isn't too bad. I thought this would be a great opportunity to show you the display, because it might look a little bit brighter here. We've just got the fluorescent lights going on. So back down here to this little rubber cover, we're gonna click the battery on,
That's like the line. And maybe close that back up. Now we take the second step, which is to hold the power button on this little button pad. And I love this thing. It's got some independent buttons for lights, information, which cycles through the different displays, and then the trigger throttle. And I noticed that the trigger throttle is not active until you take just a little bit of a pedal stroke. But when you're folding the bike, or maybe you forget to turn it off and you bump this, you're not gonna have the bike taken off on you, which is really great. Also, this display panel, again, color, pretty big. It's adjustable angle. It's got the USB. I mean, I really like this thing, and it's even got a little kind of an infographic here for your speed, whereas a lot of other bikes just have a number. This has the cool, almost like a car or something like that, like a little dial going on. And then they've got a battery percentage as well as an infographic, much more precise than like just a couple bars or something. A lot of times I'll see 5 bars. That's 20% steps. Oh, and did you see that? See how I'm kind of covering up the display a second ago? There's a light sensor, and it activated the headlight automatically. So it's definitely one of the smarter systems, and then it just went off, because I guess we must just have the perfect amount of light here to sort of have it be switching on and off. And then there's that rear light. It's a brand new bike, so I have to pull out this plastic tab here. Wish me luck. There we go. And then press the power button. So this is a pretty decent light too on the back. Got a big reflective surface. It's below the rack, so if you put a trunk bag or some little panniers, they wouldn't block this. The thing is, you know, we're back up here, we turn the bike off, that light is still gonna be on, and it's no fun to have to replace disposable batteries frequently. So here we go, I'm gonna turn this off, try not to forget it. Now we're back up to the display. I love this thing. I think it's laid out really well. We've got a clock up in the left. We've got battery percentage, speed in the middle, and then a whole bunch of trip stats down here that we're gonna go through. But there's also, see, there's the light sensor right there, that little white dot. There's also assist level. So right now it's in 0. I can click the plus button over here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very cool. We've got a lot of different levels of assist, so you can go for efficiency and range, or high power and climbing, and kind of a zippier feel. And then, you know, back down and kind of easily click through those. Even though there's a trigger throttle, it still feels like it's within reach. So I just love the way that the cockpit is set up here. And then the headlight button, so you can hold that for a second and see how this display also got a little bit dimmer. So at night, this isn't gonna be blinding you when you really need to be focused on the road ahead and other maybe cars and stuff like that. So let's go through those different menus I was talking about. It starts with trip distance, 5.3 miles. And we've got odometer, so 5 miles. So this bike's basically brand new. Let's see, max speed, 33.1 miles per hour. Someone was really getting going on that. Average speed, 2.6, that's me. Range is so cool on this because it's dynamic. So right now I'm in assist level 3, but if I arrow down to assist level 1, see the range changes. So let's go, well, this is assist level 2. Let's go to 1, that's the most efficient, and we'll see a range. Right now it says 35 miles. Now it says 48. So, I mean, that's, you know, Evelo on their website says like, well, 20 to 40 miles. That's reasonable. That's very reasonable for like a 350 watt hour plus battery with an efficient mid-drive system. You know, with the mid-drive, you shift gears and it creates a mechanical advantage for you and the motor. And a lot of times mid-drives, you know, this one doesn't have shift detection like some of the fancy Bosch motors. But you don't really need that when you have a continuously variable transmission, because there's no steps where it's going to be banging. It's just this smooth, arc of power. It's really a good setup here. I think this is really excellent. And let's keep going. So from range, we get to calories burned, so that's kind of neat. And then timer, like trip time. See, that's different. Time here versus a clock up at the top. And then back to trip distance. And I think to get into the settings, you double tap at I, and see we can go through here and get some more information on different things, battery info, error code. So I'm just pressing the I button to select things, display settings, brightness, automatic off, max pedal assist. So it looks like you could even change the different types of pedal assist, like 9 up to 9. So we could have 3, 5, or 9. I'm gonna leave it at 5. Power view, state of charge view percentage, so we could switch it to voltage if we wanted. That's a little bit more advanced. Trip reset, wheel size. I mean, there's just the speed limit 40 miles per hour. I think it's actually limited to 20. Sensitivity password, so you can maybe keep kids or, you know, people who might be a little bit sensitive. You can kind of keep this thing secure. The speed limit's neat though, because like coming back to this, if you're someone who's a little bit unstable anyway, and that's what you got the like low step frame here, it's a bit more approachable. The smaller wheels, they can be a little bit twitchy and stuff, but you might want to limit that top speed. Or if you're teaching someone about electric bikes, that's really neat. So there's just a lot you can do. I really like this display. Head back and we're gonna exit. That's kind of it, right? And then if we come back over to the right-hand side, this is the Infinity C8. It's a grip shifter. So it's what controls the gearing ratio in the NuVinci N380. And you know, there's an older NuVinci called the N360, and this one has more degrees of freedom, so 380 gearing ratio in degrees. It's pretty nice. Again, a little bit heavier, but nice to have if you're someone who's new to bikes. There's no numbers or anything. It just says, do you want to climb a hill? Do you need like a low gear, easy pedaling, or are you ready to go fast? We're going to flatten that hill and make this more of a, you know, a higher speed opportunity. In my experience, I mean, again, that's just so smooth. This is a mechanical version. There's like an electronic, automatic shifting, fancier type of thing, but this is already a big step up. You know, I think it works pretty well. And coming back down here, this 70-tooth, really big belt ring, you might be wondering like, why? Why is it so big? Well, that's because they have to sort of slow down your pedal cadence relative to the size of the wheels. So if this was a 26-inch or 28-inch wheel, well, then they could have a smaller chain ring up here and the pedaling would feel natural. It's all about finding a natural pedal speed. I feel like this is geared a little bit high, and I think, you know, they probably did that because it's like, you've got a motor to help you get started, you've got pedal assist. Basically, this doesn't have a really low, like fast gear speed. You start out relatively high, in my opinion. And you know, again, if you're a bike nut and you hopefully you're understanding what I'm saying, I think you can still climb effectively on this because you have motor support, you got the throttle. It's just, I think they geared it a little bit higher so that you're comfortable when you do get up to the 20 mile per hour top speed. So, you know, that's pretty cool. Then there's the Gates belt again. I wanted to show you that center track design. So see how there's a cut down the middle? That lines up with a cut in these, back here, there's this kind of a sprocket and then a belt ring up front. That acts as a guide. So you don't need an external guide. This is not gonna fall off. I mean, first of all, it's super tight, so it's not gonna slap around or anything. It's not gonna break as easily as a chain. It's not gonna rust, it's not greasy. And then that center track design just keeps it on track. So Gates does a really good job. These got Welgo plastic pedals. You push them in and fold. Not my favorite. I mean, they get the job done, but they're a little bit flexier than like metal pedals. But of course, they're lighter weight. And they've got that folding design. Nice reflectors built in. Gotta love that. Okay, so I folded the pedals. The next step here, oh, and look at that. The kickstand stays out of the way, so I can even move those cranks. I really like that. I'm gonna leave the kickstand deployed when I fold it, because I think that keeps the whole thing stable. And while we're back here, I might as well show you. Check this out. There's the bungee cord. It's got that nice little like locking slider mechanism. There we go. Sweet. Okay. What I should have done is turn this off first. So turn off the bike. There we go. If you know you're not going to be using the battery for a while, it's probably a good idea to turn that off as well. And I had it turned off when I was charging it earlier, you know, plugging it into the wall. Batteries tend to do best if you can avoid extreme heat and extreme cold. So, you know, it's pretty cold outside right now, and a little bit of snow is falling there. If I'm leaving this bike in the garage, I might want to take the battery off so it just doesn't get to the really cold temperatures and stuff, especially if you're charging it. If you're charging a battery when it's really cold, that's hard on it. And again, extreme heat. If you haven't used the bike in a month or two, it's good to kind of top the battery off and just check on it, and then, you know, use that power off button we were talking about. So let's see, I'm going to try to set this up so you can see the bike here while I fold it. There's like a latch in the middle of the bike right here we looked at earlier. I'm gonna open that up. There's the telescoping stem right here, so I'm gonna slide that down and then maybe lock it into place. And then there's that third step here up front. Just open that up. There we go, sweet. So I'm gonna do the middle first. Fold it like this. Line up those magnets. There they go, they click together. And then I can fold down those handlebars like that. And then here's the saddle. So this is sort of the last, I don't know what you do with this. Maybe put it in the middle. If you put it back in to the seat tube, it doesn't actually go down very far. It only goes down that far, so it'd be sticking up a lot. So I think I kind of take the saddle off and maybe just put it in the center of the frame like that. So here we go. Get the walk around, getting up close to those magnets down there, clasping together. It's a nice solution. A lot of electric bikes kind of skip that, and it looks like you can kind of adjust how far out they are. Otherwise, there's not a lot of stuff hitting on this frame, and it's very stable. A lot of times folding electric bikes, once you fold them, they're kind of tipping all over the place because they don't have that nice kickstand. And it is good to have that down, because if we stowed it, that belt ring would be a little bit exposed, and you don't want to mar that up. That's one of the more expensive, sensitive parts of the bike. And then back down here, this is what I was talking about. You see how the plastic's getting pulled up a little bit because the wires are at this bend? That's what you want to be careful of, just so that black plastic thing doesn't come all the way off. It was sort of falling off when the bike got here, and because I've been folding it a bunch, it's a vulnerable point. That's one area on the bike that I'd love to see shored up a little bit for the future. And now we can take out the battery. Okay, so here we are. Again, it's already been turned off. Insert the key, turn it like halfway, because then you can use the key as a handle, or there's a little pinch thing in here, so you can pinch that like that and pull out the battery. It's a 4.1 pounds. Here it is, 36 volts, 10.2 amp hours, lithium ion battery pack. Pretty nice, This is one of the better designs, I think, where it mounts into the frame like this. It's really well protected, and they must be using higher energy density cells because it's pretty lightweight for that capacity. So it's back in the frame. I'm getting ready to tighten it down. There is a little bit of play here, so you want to line it up right, and then you can twist it and lock it back in. So that's it. That's the whole thing. I think now we can put some gloves on and actually go for a better ride, do a ride test. Okay, guys, it's ready for the ride test. I'll tell you, whoever invented gloves, it really makes a big difference. Okay, so I just turned it on, and it's in pedal assist level 1. I'm going to try something. I'm take it up to pedal assist level 3, turn it off. Let's see what happens when I turn it back on. Evelo. Pedal assist 1. So it looks like it always starts in assist level 1. For me, it's clear. It's easy to read. It's a little bit overcast. We got the snowflakes and stuff, but I feel like this display works pretty well, and I purposely have it tucked down a little bit because when I fold it, this is a more protected angle, but you could raise it up so that you don't have to look quite so far down. And again, I just love that display. I'm in a relatively high, like kind of a starting gear with the CVT, and I think I'm just going to start in 1, This bike's so quiet and smooth. Just barely hearing that motor, but I think that the throttle would be active now if I press that. Maybe not. Okay, let's take it down to 0. Nope, no active throttle. Still no active throttle. There we go. Okay, interesting. So it's kind of like I was saying before. Maybe it takes a little bit more pedal motion than I remember. I'll take it back down to 2. I'm pedaling, holding the throttle. There we go. So I had to pedal for a second, but then it picks up. So the reason that the motor's making a little bit more noise right there is because it's spinning at a higher RPM. And that's because I'm still in like a low gear, this climbing gear. See how I'm pedaling pretty fast? So, whoa boy, just try to do the no hands thing on the icy snow. There we go, we did it. And let's take this down to a lower gear. So I'm kind of at the bottom now. See how my pedaling cadence really slowed down even though we're going about 10 miles per hour? Whoa boy, let's do the throttle again. Nice, and I do feel, it's a little bit jittery with these smaller wheels when you get going fast like that. I'm trying to hit a max speed here. So, pedal. Maybe it is based on speed. There we go, because it's like I had to be up to 6 miles per hour before the motor would kick on with throttle mode.
Okay, we're on 13, 14, 15 miles per hour, 16. Yep, it seems like it's giving me full power output. Let's go up to level 5. Yeah, it seems like regardless of the level of assist, I'm getting full power. Really quiet and smooth now that I'm in a higher gear. So, you know, that's kind of the throttle experience. It works pretty well. Another quick thought here, you know, if you want the larger tires, larger wheels that are going to span cracks a little bit easier, maybe be more stable for that no hands riding I was trying to do earlier, I believe Evelo has like a 24-inch Galaxy, which is like their kind of cruiser model. Again, it won't fold, but it's compact. It's got that lower standover height, and it's just going to be a little bit more stable. And I think they have a trike as well that they're working on, or maybe launching in April of 2018. So that's exciting. Like a lot of range for people that want that stability, the comfort. It's kind of neat. Now, it feels pretty fast when you're on a folding bike going at 20 miles per hour. It seems like it's still helping me. So maybe it can go a little bit faster if you're in pedal assist. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot of different options on this bike, but I don't know how comfortable I would feel going too much faster than 20. My cadence goes, you know, this is the highest gear. Right now I'm like 18 miles per hour. You know, this is pretty fast. Well, guys, it's been an adventure. Thanks for hanging out with me. As always, I recorded all the specs and details back in the full written review. I'll do my best to answer questions and comments. I think Evelo will do a good job too. And I got the forums, you know, you can talk to people. Maybe someone's got the Quest One. Again, with just one speed, the bike's simpler. It's lighter. The hub motor, compact, a lot less expensive, like $900. But there's, you know, this is a pretty feature-rich bike here. Kind of gives you everything you need. Maybe I'd add a bell, but otherwise I'm pretty impressed. Have fun out there, safe travels, and ride safe.